You might have to say okay on your screens.
Got it.
Yeah, we got up early, had a shower. Woohoo! Shot. Watered my flowers.
Good.
Got attacked by a wasp. It's that time of year.
Yeah.
Autumn, out they come.
I've had a couple of mozzie bites as well this week.
Oh, right.
On my hand, I scratched the one on my hand and it was all swollen, but it's gone down now. So
Yeah, as soon as you get to sort of mid to late August, all the nasties tend to start coming out, don't they?
yeah, that's right.
Mosquitoes, they've all sort of done their bit.
Yeah.
It's the wasps I'm not so keen on.
No.
So is the others not coming then? What about
Pauling's
I'm here.
not Pauline, the other Pauline. Joyce, I mean. Joyce is gone. She's away this week, but she said to say hello to Bridget.
All right.
Anne and Gordon are in, and Christine. They're all they've hitched up their caravans and gone off to Kingston Moorwood.
Oh, lovely.
That's not much to Bridget, but it's not far away. It's on the way to Dorchester, just outside of.
Right.
They go for a summer camp. Really, it's like every year because they're all in the caravan club, and I think Gordon and Anne, who come here, obviously they run it. So they all group up once a year.
Right. Nice.
Unless but it's quite funny really because they're all keeping some distance from each other due to COVID and one thing and another. So it's sort of you wave to the person 3 meters away in the other caravan and sort of throw them a can of beer every now and then. Apparently.
Yeah. So your paintings were good this week, weren't they?
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, you're getting so good, Pauline. And
did you see? Have you been online and looked at the little gallery? I put them up.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, I saw. I don't think you'd put Chris's up when I looked last, but
hang on. Let me.
Oh, it's Chris done one.
Yeah.
Well, I just did mine in pencil because I've packed all mine away.
Oh right. Oh, I haven't seen yours, Carol.
Well, it doesn't look like him. I didn't do it from the grid. I just tried to draw it. So
right.
I can't get it right.
These are the ones that we did that everyone did last week, Bridget.
Oh yes.
What I tend to do or have started to do for the last few months, well, this year really, isn't it? We'd sort of do a portrait every other week or every other couple of weeks. And last week it was Omar Sharif. But it didn't. But I don't care if it doesn't look like Omar Sharif anyway. It's still such a really nice picture.
Yeah, it's lovely.
That's yours, Dave? Is it?
No, this is Anne's.
Oh right.
Yeah,
oh,
really
Anne's done one. Oh right. Yeah. That's good.
Just because they're out on holiday, sort of thing.
Right.
They still they're still part of our group, and I send them the video and the reference stuff, and they just come back, a few days later or over the weekend. That was the sketch, and obviously I framed them up for her.
Yeah.
Everyone's done a really good job. That was Carol's sketch, wasn't it?
Oh right. Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah.
I don't think I've got his face quite fat enough, have I? Then I went over a bit with pen. So I think I've done his eyes too dark again. I've got a thing with eyes, haven't I?
Did you use coloured paper?
No, I don't know why. No, it was white paper. I don't know why it's come out like that.
I could probably. I didn't know. I wasn't sure if you were using some pastel paper or
No, it was just ordinary a drawing pad I've got.
Because you photographed it in the in sort of in yellowy light, isn't it?
Well, I put it up on my sideboard where I usually do it, so I don't know. But when I took it, I thought, well, that looks a bit, well, it looks as if it's got a bit of colour to it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I love it. I think they're great. I mean, it's easy to, I know, as sort of team leader to sort of do criticals on them and things like that, but I just don't, I can't, because I love all the work everyone does. It's like none of it's pre-planned.
Yeah.
There's no.
Ooh,
That's Chris's.
that's Chris's, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Christine's, but obviously that's going to have more contrast because she's using acrylic.
Mm,
Um,
that's good.
he's scary. He looks straight at that guy.
Yeah.
If I was
He's
in,
after you.
yeah, I reckon if I was in Kabul and he was
Yeah,
cutting me in or out, I'd be a bit worried.
Yeah.
That's a lovely one.
Yeah, that's yours, isn't it, Pauline?
Yeah.
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 Once they put the frame round them,
Yeah.
it makes it so nice.
Yeah.
Still, it's good. They're all different. It would be boring.
They
if
are,
we all
yeah.
did exactly the same, wouldn't it?
Oh,
Right.
I get embarrassed every week because I think, well, most of them are better than mine.
Oh, yours was good.
I
Yours
don't
was
think so.
good.
Well, they are. I mean, they're as good. They're comparable. So either I'm good at what I'm doing, or you guys are. Well,
Catching up with you.
I think you are.
so.
Yeah.
We'll give you a lesson, Dave.
You can take the videos from now on.
Let's have a look at yours again. Yeah.
Mine was a bit softer, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No, that was.
Whether it's the same now, I don't. Yeah, but I mean, it's like we keep saying, they're not meant to be full-blown portraits to sell. If I was doing that, then I'd spend, few in an hour. It's more about infusing myself as well as everyone else onto having a go, really. And as for today's subject,
yeah, that looks quite hard.
yeah, let's have a laugh at that. I'll stop that share and see if I can find. We've got hundreds of pictures on the website now. I've got a plan. Don't worry, Bridget. We will paint eventually. Something will happen. What was I saying? Oh, today is Forest. Well, we're not at church anymore, but the irony of it is, let me share this. Oh, back to the picture. Where are you? There. Yeah, okay. The irony, we're not at church anymore, where we normally have our Tuesday, Bridget. We have our art group started, I don't know, 20 odd years ago in the church hall. Every Tuesday morning, it was part of the church community thing. So, but since COVID, we just carried on online. But the irony of it is that lady pushing the horse is Verity, the church admin.
Oh, it isn't, is it?
Yeah. I don't know if we can find the colour one.
Oh, what's she doing that for? Does she live in the countryside then?
No. Her husband, don't know what's going on. Always makes you laugh, doesn't it? Everything works perfect until you go online and start a Zoom thing, and then it all goes doolally. Try again. I don't think it's. What I'm going to do. Hang on. What am I'm sharing a video now. That's why. Got it. What it was, there was a video of, I've stored the video of me doing the picture, and that's what came up. That was my demo of doing the foliage. I've got it. So I was trying, now Now we're on the case. Share screen. Come on. Yeah, this is Verity from church. She posted it. My resource for reference images these days tends to be more and more on Facebook. I just see friends and people that I know post images, and we end up painting a lot of them. This is Verity today. I mean, it's so busy, isn't it?
Yeah, very.
To do this in an hour is going to be really fun. I've trying to look. Well, it's a watercolor. It's not a photograph. So, but everyone's interpretation is going to be interesting. I have a plan for it.
Right.
But as everyone knows, that all goes by the by as you halfway through the painting when it starts going pear-shaped. But there's loads of different ways of approaching it. I don't know, is there a right and a wrong? I doubt it. I'm not aware of one. I did some little samples of the horse earlier. Colors. Have you got any thoughts on it? Initially, your instant reaction is, well, it's burnt sienna. Whatever happens, isn't it? It's the horse. I think it needs a bit more to it than that to give it a little bit more texture. So today's theme is probably about, well, there's two really. There's an alternative way to do the foliage that I quite like, and the other one is underpainting. To produce a better balance. But even then, it's the old situation where I'm always saying in watercolors, if you 2-3 layers of separate color are good. Any more, you get mud. Everyone does it, don't they? Also, how many times have I said it? My pictures are like mud. It's the favorite the favorite question or frequently asked question. Why are my paintings like mud? Because you use too much paint. Not necessarily too much of one color, but you keep layering different colors to fix what you're not happy with underneath on top of it, and eventually you end up with mud. The other classic, of course, is too much water. It tends to make it go a bit furry. But yeah, the horse is going to be. So I think the approach today has got to be to paint the horse and Verity first, and then I'll attack. You're not going to like this, Carol, but I'm going to use masking fluid.
Well, I'm not painting, am I, this week?
No,
so that's fine.
I'm going to try and stick I'm going to try and use a bit of masking fluid over the top.
I think that would be a bit hard to draw. The horse would be all right, but all that greenery be a bit I might just have a go at the horse if I've got time. Yeah.
I think the well,
I nearly got my paints out again, and I thought, oh no, I can't pack them up again. It's too much hard work. So I have to wait till I've moved, and then I'll get painting again.
Well, yeah, that's strange.
Well, I could get my watercolor pencils out, couldn't I? They're not too bad. Right, let's get rid of us all. Right.
There are. Just the host has spotlighted my video for everyone. Can you hear? What I've done, I have to change my microphone, and I'll stand up and pretend I'm going to do some work. I don't think, what time is it? 1:45. I don't think anyone has else is planning.
No.
Terry, I haven't heard from him, but I've got used to that. So I don't
Yeah.
pretend not to put any pressure on him because I don't want to affect his wellness.
And I've got to go early again. Sorry.
Well, that's the beauty of this. That's why I'm always
Yeah.
looking to make if you haven't got a red thing or if it's
Yeah,
not
I have.
recording,
Yeah. It's
if it's not-
recording.
yeah, tell me because it's a nightmare. Because I end up having to go through the whole thing again in the afternoon on my own, pretending there's an audience or there's people there. But, one of the
Right.
things I was going to do, there's a Facebook group over here called Not on Amazon, and I've got a license, or I've a license to post on there. Obviously, the idea is you can sell things on there, like craft things you do, and my paintings, my astronomy pictures if I wanted to. But I've decided that I'm going to produce a really nice bit of marketing blurb, some pictures, and try and sell our Tuesday group on there. But I'm a bit reticent because I've got 100 at the moment. We've got what 8 to 10 people. They all turned up, and it's plenty, and it's more than enough. But I have a feeling if I whack it on there, I'll get like 100. Or
Oh no, no.
Yeah.
That's not what we want. We want just to, well, I got a maximum of 16 perhaps, but I reckon it'll be fun. I've got to put my this is posh now. I've got a clip-on microphone.
Oh wow. You're going up in the world.
Yeah. Proper little TV studio. Well, after a year and a half, I suppose I had to do something. Let me take just switch. The hard bit's clipping it on to a t-shirt, and the spring on it is so stiff. Oh, I've got my braces. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, that's cool. I've got it. I've pinned it on my braces. Clever. I knew they'd have a use someday. Yeah, the sketching of this is I spent quite a while, but a lot of the time these days I use the grid anyway, which gives you a lot of I haven't got something happened there. Oops, got wire everywhere now. Don't get this on TV, do they? The microphone wire is dangling on it. Well, years ago they might. Yeah, so just using the grid. I don't know if Bridget uses that, but I think it's such a neat way of doing it. The only problem is you spend quite a while rubbing out afterwards, just to tighten it up. But I've got these this really soft putty rubber. It is so soft, it's unbelievable. It's not like the normal ones. But what I've done today is I've put some lines where I think the trees go, but I'm conscious that they're a bit thick, so I'm just using the rubber to dab up. If I just touch it on it, it makes them lighter. There's a reason for that. For faint, I don't want them coming through, because not so much down here, but up here, because once I've put the foliage on, it's going to be difficult to start rubbing stuff out. Anyway, sky well, hang on, there's the palette I'm using. I haven't really changed it hardly at all from, because this is the one I set up for doing portraits, but it seems to be working quite well for just about everything. Cadmium lemon yellow, or it could be any yellow even. a red, well, that's rose madder, but could be any red that you want. Alzerian crimson's good. The blue that I squirted in there today was or is cobalt blue, but I didn't really want cobalt for the sky. So, oh, one thing for it while I remember, if you haven't got any, this stuff, it's called the Masters Brush Cleaner and Restorer.
Mhm.
And it cleans your brushes. I went through my brushes the other day, especially these Rosemary and Co. These oil ones that we've been using for portraits, or I've been using. They tend to hold, I don't know, they don't wash out very well in water. But this stuff comes, it's a bit like, I've been using it obviously. It comes as a solid thing. It's like some like sort of sugar soapy stuff, you know. And you just go around it with your brush. You can make it damp and just go around and just leave it for a couple of hours or an hour, and then wash it off in water. The water gets really coloured. Brilliant stuff though. The after you've done it, the feel and texture of your brush is like comes back to like it was when it was new, which is awesome. The paper I'm using here is that horrible stuff. It's well, it's not, it's brilliant paper, but it's quite thin, so I've stretched it on the board. See my video for how to stretch video. But it's very thin, and so I might have to use the hairdryer a bit to get it going. There's a blue here I've got. It's horizon blue, but cerulean blue's good enough, because I didn't want the sky. I'm going to put some sky in the top a minute. But I don't want it to be cobalt blue. I wanted it to be a more light and fluffy color. I'm not going to bother with the mop here today because excuse me, I'm going to have to put something there to stop my brushes rolling underneath. Yeah, so I'm just going to use just a flat brush. What I'm going to try, hang on, I've got a really nice, I printed out a nice little color image, but you can see the sky on there is quite pale. So I just thought it would be nice if it was had a bit more blue in it. So I'm going to go amongst my top third, just scrubbing a bit of water for a sec, and I've just put a little bit of that blue on the side there, so it might be a bit too insipid, but I'll give it a go. Just sort of dab a bit, technical term, dab a bit. But it's horizon blue this, but it's really like cerulean blue. So I would have used cerulean, but it wasn't. Every time I try to find it, I tend to spend 20 minutes thinking, where the heck did I put it? And as you know, these tubes of paint I buy are St. Petersburg colors, and they're in Russian. Makes me laugh. We were talking about it the other day, weren't we? They come from Wareham in Dorset, but they print the colours and everything in it in Russian. And it's really fine type as well, which I can't read. And I think I've left my reading glasses downstairs. So there we go. Well, whatever happens, I've got a nice bluey, well, nice summery sky. I'm just looking at the picture and trying to put in a bit of blue where who is it? Brian Thatcher, old brilliant artist years ago. He calls them bird holes. When you're doing trees, make sure you leave some bird holes. No, was it sky holes? I don't know. Bird holes, I thought he said. The trouble is I'm getting so old and fuddly, I don't know what's what half the time. I reckon we'll do this. We'll have an early lunch, I think.
Say that every week.
Yeah.
Mm.
I have no fear. Next, I'm going to look at, really, we're just going to block in for a minute. So looking at my picture, my reference image, I could zoom out, but I won't. I think it's trouble with being portrait. You don't, can't fit quite so much in. I'm just going to look for some tonal values on the path area, which means painting around the horse a bit. I did put two lines, one going that way and one going there to indicate the where the path was going. I'll show you something. I'll do this first and then I'll show you where my thinking was yesterday, where I did it. It might have been early this morning. I did a little sort of tester swatch. Beauty of these flat brushes is you can get into, it's only clean water, but still want it to be slightly damp, but you can get into little areas. So say I have a plan, but and I was thinking sometimes I do these things and I think I should have a go the day before or something and work out a routine and all the rest of it. But personally, as I like the feeling of what's the word? Spontaneity, I suppose. Being the spontaneity of the picture, you know, the tightness of, I don't know, the naivety that you've got. This is a flesh tone that I'm just adding in, but we know how to make flesh, which is just yellow and rose madder, yellow and red, any color. I'm just putting it in really as a background. Paint, put it on. Gosh. But that's the flesh color that we had left over in the palette from last week from painting portraits and the week before, but using where I've made it damp. So using this flat brush, you can sort of get into the little areas that you want. Just trying to think how far up does that go, that part. But as long as we've got some, run out of water. It's a bit cooler now, isn't it? I was out there earlier putting some water on my plants. And it's the reason I was upsetting the wasp at the same time. And I thought, do you know what? I thought I'll open the greenhouse, but it was a bit fresh. You can use raw sienna on this as well. I've got a little bit of raw sienna in my palette. I just used the edge of the paper, but it's pretty close to the flesh tone, especially if you water it down a bit. Whoops, I've done it already, haven't I? No, not that dark. But as you say, try and block in where the path is. Paper, you can see how thin this paper is. It's starting to wobble up, even though it's stretched. Which is why I was saying earlier, it's sort of rubbish paper. All I'm doing is dabbing in a few bits of where I think I see burnt sienna, I'm putting it in. There's a post there, isn't there? Did you notice?
I'm going to put a bit of burnt umber as well. He says, grabbing a dollop of rose madder red, but it's just colour, isn't it? As long as you, like I said right from the start, as long as you don't stick, I feel like an oil painter dabbing the brush on the side of the paper, using it as a palette. A sort of secondary palette, isn't it? Switch brush. What I could do, because it's local, I put a bit of burnt umber on that, what I think is a post. So I'll just stick a little bit of that sky blue in it as well, because it will go grey. Well, it will distinguish it from the path. I'm starting to get a bit conscious of which glasses I'm using these days. It's only the last couple of weeks where I've decided that I needed the reading glasses were nicer than the these bifocal ones. But for watercolors, sometimes it's used to say to people, take your glasses off and paint with your glasses off, because then you'll get that sort of blurry watercolor effect
Yeah.
that everyone tries to.
Be like a blob for me.
Funny, isn't it?
Mm.
If you paint, oops, still a bit too strong, but I'm just dabbing a few bits in just to give it some sort of structure, or thinking I am, before I concentrate on the just a few areas. Just sets the scene. It's a bit strong. I don't want it too strong. But they're reminders. At some point, but they're reminders, but they are underpainted for what comes next or later. I'm just trying to find some shapes. It's a bit of a, I mean, you can do it. You can do it on a horse as well. Just to set the tone. Just to say to myself, I've got to be careful here, because this area here isn't the horse, is it? It's the horse's harness. So I'm just going to scratch up. Just going to set it in. Conscious of that bit there. Sounds like, you remember George? He used to scratch scratch his paintings out, and you'd be sat there in the background. You could hear this scratching. It's like a bloody old hen scratching away in the background. And these brushes, I'm starting to do it as well. But these are the bits where the harness is. So I'm just using this sort of bluey grey colour that was in the really bits that are left over from previous adventures, really. And the beauty of it is, get rid of all your, as you start, I don't know about you, but as you start doing that, you sort of lose your confidence starts waning, because you're getting rid of your pencil lines.
Mm-hmm.
And you say the thing that you were latching on to right from the word go, you know, you think, oh, well, I'm okay. I've got pencil lines to follow, so I can catch any errors, or I'll know where I'm a bit dry. You know, I can, if I make a mistake or something, you know, I lose a bit of confidence while I'm painting or whatever. Use my finger on that bit. I can get it back because I've got the pencil lines. You've got something to latch onto. But as soon as you start painting them out, you've had it, they're gone. So you're having to rely on your instinct and paint what you see, which is what you should be doing anyway. But it's a good way of, I'm sort of waffling on really, but this paper isn't that absorbent, but we're just trying to set the scene. And his nose is going to be dark as well. So while I've got that, and there's a dark area above his eye. It's a bit like when we're doing buildings, painting buildings and that. I always say, don't I, get your cerulean, a little bit of cerulean blue or a little bit of light sky blue that you've used to paint the sky, and paint in the windows of the buildings. Because as soon as you start painting the walls, you end up, there's a tendency to lose where the windows were. But if you paint just a delicate shade of, just like that really, on the window area, it stops it from disappearing. My next plan, I'm not 100, this color here is just what I mixed up yesterday. It was just burnt sienna, burnt umber, and a bit of cobalt blue. I was trying to get and some green actually. There's a bit of, what green is that? Everyone says, don't know. I'll show you. I'll squish it on a bit of paper. It's a horrible, really, what do you call that? Viridian green, something like that. You don't, very rarely, it's got muddy or dirty because of the other colours that I've been putting into it. But yesterday I was, what I'm going to try and achieve, or for the background, is a sort of variation of that theme. And that was the colour that I used in the path, but today I've made it slightly thinner, lighter colour, so that's something like that. And something like this one, I put salt in, which to try and take up some of the paint and add a bit of texture to it. But I've kind of gone off that idea. There are other ways of doing it. Next bit, yeah. So what I've got a rigger here, and I add a little bit of burnt umber into that colour. But I noticed that cobalt blue gives a different, normally I use burnt umber, ultramarine mixed together to give the darks, from a darks. But using cobalt blue, I don't know if it's cheap tubes of cobalt or what, but it definitely goes a sort of more of a grey tone, especially adding that green. I'll show you. So I've put that green there. There's a bit of cobalt blue, adding it into there. Add a bit of burnt umber, and look, it goes that. It doesn't go the black or the really sort of dark, the green that I'm always on about, that you get in shadows of foliage and that, where it's green, but it's not green, it's almost black. Anyway, I digress, but it's all positive stuff. So with the rigger, sometimes it's a good idea to have a bit of spare paper just to test. You can tell I'm going to lift my glasses up. I've made a few pencil lines, but I just wanted to add a few twigs before. Apart from that twig, that's not a twig over there, that's a tree. I'm only doing them fine, or as fine as I can. Oh, I was going to say I'm like a coiled spring, but I'm not. I'm not very. I'm just trying to do it. The more you try to get it, to get them really fine, the worse it goes. They sort of, you think, I'm not pressing on the brush. I'm just letting the brush do the work. And then you get a good one and you think, well, I'm back on track. But once you start, keep going. I've got to put some up there as well. It's just that they're in the background. They're underpainted effectively, but they're not. Might as well use a bit of that. They're not permanent feet. Well, they are for permanent. That's not what I mean. They're not designed to be right in the front. So I want them to be very faint. Hence the reason I'm using that sort of insipid light color. You can spend more time doing this and you can spend a little bit more time than I'm probably going to now because I'm impatient. I want to see other bits done. My tree, there's some really thick branches here, so add a bit of water. I'm taking a gamble here and I'm making it quite strong. I'm making it up now. It's almost a grey colour. It's not as green as I would normally like. When you do yours, try and make it a bit greener. Because I could add a bit of yellow on it in a minute. Let's see how it develops. Trying to envisage where that tree goes. I'm going to put my hand on the board for a minute. It goes right up to the top of the paper, really. So we might as well keep going. Using not necessarily the point of the brush, but the side of it. Random, that's what we want. Don't want contrived. Not sure if it shouldn't go there, should it? Trying to make it look like there's a tree somewhere in the background. But in the foreground between you and the tree are some leaves, which is the reason I've left that space there. I think this could be a bit thicker. That's not too bad. It looks a mess at the moment, but I have faith. Have faith. Go with the flow. Nah, it'll be all right. Well, I don't. I nearly said I don't care, but I do. I'm really up. I do. That's the issue, isn't it? You think, oh, it's only a picture. Well, it is only a picture, but you want to do it right, or at least to your best ability. I did notice yesterday there were a couple of branches that were parallel to each other going up there when I was looking at the picture, so I'll stick a few in. Don't know how high up they go, but there's loads.
Hang on a sec, I'll be back in a minute.
Loads of twigs everywhere. So take the edge off the brush and try and stick some up here as well. Think fingers, isn't it? Fingers. There are people out there that would probably spend a long time painting each individual twig, but that's not my thing. Otherwise, you end up getting confused and painting the photograph, which we don't want to do really. Next stage I'm going to do is I've got some of this yellow. I'm going to try is a bright sort of yellow. It's not lemon yellow as such. Let's put that down a bit. I think it's called cadmium lemon yellow. So it's a combination of different. This is just background underpainting. But I just figured that these leaves, I've drawn them, but I haven't, if you know what I mean. All I've done is put little circles. I've just picked out, if you look at the picture, there's some quite large leaves floating around. And I just didn't, I thought it might be a good idea to put them in, or put a few larger ones in. I'm just going to underpaint them with yellow. And then if I can find a little bit of the, what does yellow and blue make?
Green.
Green colour, doesn't it? So I'm just going to dab, but it's the wrong green. That blue, don't use cobalt blue if you can help it. It doesn't, it's, well, we'll see what it looks like later, but just dabbing a bit of blue over the top of the yellow. But I'm conscious that I wanted the light, or the lighter side of any to fall on the left, because I'm left-handed, I suppose. Maybe. I just thought, crossed my mind earlier that if I was going to make any emphasis of shadow, to make it on the left-hand side. So I'm just conscious that as I'm putting the blue on, I'm leaving a little bit of yellow on the left, or trying to. You won't need much. You can use a little bit of that shadow colour as well, just to, they look like maple leaves. To me, I know my eyes are rubbish, but you can add a few bits. They have that sort of pointy feel to them to me, look like maple leaves. So I'm just adding a few dark bits to them. Sometimes I think being a bit looser helps as well. I think I've got quite a few on there. I've got a big black and white image above where I'm sat. So hence when I send those reference images, the black and white one is the one for luminosity and contrast and tone. So you choose it. And the one I use for doing a grid, if I'm, you know, for drawing it out. Because you don't want to get bogged down with colour. Colour's the last thing you want to worry about. I think that's one of the things you learn. It sounds funny, bringing astronomy into a watercolour, but it's one of the things that you do when you work in astronomy and you're processing those colour images that you see of the galaxies and that. The initial thing you do, colour is irrelevant. You work with the luminosity, which is effectively the black and white, the light and dark part of the image. Educational, these classes, you know that. Don't laugh. I put my one of my telescopes up for sale for I don't know what I put it back, nearly £4,000.
Oh, crikey.
And I still ain't, for the life of me, there's a bit of that green. I'm going to add a bit of that in as well. For the life of me, I don't know why I did it. If someone comes back and I think it's part of my autism. I just get a notion in my head of it's a sort of what if? I wonder if I was to, you know, that's the kind of statement. Just a bit more yellow in there. But you can spend quite a lot of time on this, or as much as you like, really. But while I've got the colour there, I think I'll ooh. Ooh, you can always tell when it's like, ooh, that wasn't quite what. Yeah, sound more like Count Arthur Strong every day. Ooh, yeah. I was just going to go by what I was saying earlier. Just move that over the way and add a little bit of yellow to the left-hand side. Not the horse. The horse is fine, Dave. You don't need yellow on the horse yet. But funny, all this doodling and mucking about I've done, I've been waffling on. The actual paper has stretched itself back again now, so it's just one of those things. But I just wanted to make those bigger leaves look a bit more interesting. The other thing I've noticed, well, it's just come to my notice, and I'm going to do it with the fan brush, because we like Terry Harrison and the fan brush, is I'm going to grab a bit of that blue. What do you reckon? I reckon the sky blue, the sort of cerulean blue would be better. Let's dab it. So with the fan brush, just try and just, it's a bit of, yeah. I'm just using a bit of paper really to get it working. So I don't want too much. Christine will be laughing when she watches this with her acrylics. I just want it, no, it's not bright enough. I want it to be much brighter. Don't be afraid. Stick some. I might just wanted to put a few. They're not random enough with this brush, but we'll see what happens. A few spots of blue there. They won't be there later, but they are underneath at the moment. Next stage for me is to find a nice brush. If you've got a nice sable brush, this is the time to bring him out. I haven't, so I won't. But no, today's theme is flat. It's a flat brush, so I'm going to stick with that. And I'm sat down now as well because I didn't want to concentrate. I'll bring my palette down so you can see what I'm up to. Just mixing up, not mixing, I'm just using the side of my palette because I've got loads of garbage in the main palette. But being watercolor, I don't want a load of other, you know, mixing up other colors. So I'm just, I don't need a lot of what I was going to say. I don't need a load of paint, a load of strong paint like I'd get if I mixed it up in the palette. And the hard bit now, I'm using this flat brush for, seems to be do this every week. I pick up a, start using a brush and just go with it and keep going with it. I need to put the color picture up now, just so I can have a look. The technique, it's not about what I paint, is what about the way I'm going to paint it that I think is the inspirational bit today. So this yellow, what I'm painting is all the brown bits of the horse, or as much as I can. See, I only loaded this brush up once. There's one lot of colour. You can go over his eye, won't it? I was out catching slugs in the garden this week again. I go out every night and put them in the garden waste bin. I'm not joking. There must be hundreds in that waste bin. I'm frightened to open it. It's absolutely manic. It's
Oh,
mad.
dustman.
Well, the garden waste collections, they couldn't get any HGV drivers, so they stopped it
Oh,
about a month. Well, yeah, it was about a month ago. So I've got a whole colony of slugs and snails living in mine.
oh dear.
It's, well, I don't. What do I do? I thought it'd be a bit. I didn't want to just like the next door neighbour does. He just goes out and cuts them in half with a pair of scissors.
Oh gosh.
Well, they're not very nice
Oh.
creatures to your garden if you're trying to grow things. When you go out in the morning and they've effectively eaten your prize veg. I know I'm talking. It's a bit green, this yellow. Anyway, I'm just picking out, looking at my colour picture. Yellow moved there. My brush isn't as neat and tidy as I thought it was. But as you can see, that's it now. Should we go? That's finished. There. There's a little gap there as well. Let's be conscious of those between the horse and the background, because they can make the difference, make the horse stand out. So what I've done there basically is underpainted it yellow, and now I've got some raw sienna. So I'm using the side of my palette, the side of my board. But if you've got a plate or something, now I'm just going to wash it over the top of the yellow. Deep intake of breath, but try to do it in one stroke, or as not one, but as few as you can. Being a lefty, I'm trying to teach myself after all these years to paint the left-hand side first and go towards the right, so that you don't paint over yourself. Well, that's the theory, but the issue with that is that I do this, so I end up putting my arm in what I've painted anyway, so there's no rhyme or reason to it. But the reason for it's pretty obvious really, for putting the yellow in the background is to give the horse a little bit of a golden glow, for want of a better term. Trouble is, I'm not so confident when I get rid of my pencil marks. Where are my pencil marks? So now, as it develops on now, you become an artist because you haven't got those pencil marks to guide you anymore. I'm not confident that this will be a full-blown complete picture by the end of this morning, but the basics will be there. Well, the roadmap will be there. Now, what about, I think, okay, not one for the purists, but for his furry bits, I'm just going to add a little bit of white into that burnt sienna and see what happens for his hair. Yeah, that'll do. Don't need much. The only reason I want to mute it so that it differentiates itself from his flesh, which isn't complete yet. It will still need more colours, even though I'm picking up. It just adds a little bit of opacity to it. Now we're getting back into the portrait mode as well, because we're having to look at it in that sort of different light, trying to find lights, darks and shadows. I'm not sure. Ah, yeah, that's fur there. It goes over, doesn't it? I'll leave, if I can, I can't actually decide what his feet, hooves, aren't they, on horses? So I'm not really a horse person as such. Yeah, he's come in though. It's good there. I just want to set him off, get him going, ready for more in a minute. Just having a look. Hardly had a bit of burnt umber to that grey. What was it? Cobalt blue, wasn't it? And a little bit of green. Take the edge off and have a look here. Didn't really mean to do that. That line. No painting by numbers here. This is like, it's the same principle though. This is why we've been doing those portraits all these weeks, is to teach ourselves to not paint what's the word? Not actually paint the. You're not painting the subject. You're painting shapes within the subject. So what you've got to do is look for. I keep calling them value shapes. That's not stolen, but it's a term used by a lady online that I quite admire the way she paints, or the way she interprets painting, and she thinks of things as values. So not just she highlights it or focuses it on tonal values of a color. So if you say the strength of a color, so a burnt sienna has, as it comes out the tube, it's say got a value of 10. As you add more water to it, it becomes values of 10 down to 0 almost, which is like we did on here, which is nearly all water on the forward. So, but equally, I've been interpreting it as each shape within the painting has a value as well. So maybe it's just my way of confusing stuff, but just trying to think, should I do it or should I not put more? more fleshy tone here. I think I will. There's something going on there, isn't there? Oh well, I have to get my other glasses on. To stay. Whoa, that's a bit strong. But it is a nice colour. It's a nice flesh tone. So I can put it on and lift some off. It's more of an experiment, but I'm conscious that I've put enough colours on there. In other words, what I'm saying is I don't want to put any more variations of the colours on there. But the whole thing is dependent on the foliage anyway, which I haven't even attempted yet. Lay a little egg for me. Yeah, come on. You can always tell when I'm happy. And start singing. I don't know. I'm just going to do it. Just going to add. We don't, without looking under a microscope, I can't tell. We know where the belly of the horse is there, and his leg does come up to there, and that needs to go around. So I'm looking at the black and white image now, just trying to emphasize. I've changed my brush, by the way. It's a pointy one. It's one of the what do you call it, brushes. Anne's going to love this picture. She'll get really stuck in. She likes doing these sort of things. But now, using the pointy bit of the brush, start looking at the animal and add in some shadows. All I've done is use the same two colours, so try and find some shadowy bits. Not worried if because I'll add some white to it at some point to tone it back. Oh, that was a shame. See what I mean about these brushes? They don't actually, you go like that and tap it like you would a normal watercolour brush and that would be clean. But these are oil brushes, they don't. They tend to retain some of the colour. It did it then. And then when you go into the palette, you make the colour that you were just going to pick up dirty from what was already in the brush. How frustrating and naughty is that? All I wanted was to put a little bit of a fleshy tone on the horse, which was in that corner. It's been there for weeks. Just to tighten him up. He's looking all right though. I can't see it from the angle that you guys are, so it's not a problem. But I was nearly said Christine using all I'm doing is adding some fleshier tones to the dark ones that I put in right at the very start, just to add a little bit. I think he's too dark at the back, maybe need a little bit more burnt sienna to make him golder. I'm just using colours that are in the palette anyway. And watch, I'll try it again. I'm conscious of this. Yeah, that's okay. I'm just going to add some add a little bit of undercolour of white on that horse there, and add a bit there. A lot of purists will be going, you can't use white in watercolour. Of course you can. Well, I've been doing it for the last few weeks now. So if you use it sparingly, it's okay. Just want to get a golden feel to his thing, but you can see by it, if I hadn't put yellow under the undercolor, it would look, the horse would be really stark. It'd be too woolly, too washy. Just had a bit of, do you know what, I've been here all morning and it's the first dab of paint tissue I think I've done. They've got such big feet, haven't they? These what are they? Shire horses, aren't they? What I didn't answer earlier was that Verity from church, her husband, his name escapes me, is a member of, I think they're called Dorset Coppice Group, and they go out and make charcoal, chop trees down, make fences, hedgerow, out of the wood in the forest. It's over in, it's not far, it's over in Dorset somewhere, just down the road. And so that's when they saw trees down over there, they used the horse and the cart to, you know, to get it to the where they're going to be working on it. They do some really, David Ewers or something, that's one of the guys' name. Horse is starting to come now. Quite like it. It's got, but I mean the beauty is next week when we look at all the other pictures, all the horses are going to have absolutely total different characters, which is going to be fascinating to see. I'm not going to do much more to it because I'm conscious of time. What is the time anyway? Anyone know?
11:45.
1:45.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're okay. It's coming out all right. My next stage, I'm not going to rush. I'm just going to take my time. Is see what I mean? Did you see that?
Yeah.
I washed the brush out and I put it in a light color on the palette, and I've got a dirty grey, well, not dirty, but it contaminated it. I've got 2 buckets of water as well. One's clean. I love this brush. That's the annoying thing about it. All I was trying to do was mix up a bit of flesh tone, which, just to prove what I was saying earlier, is a bit of yellow and Alzir and crimson together. Gives us, that's a dark flesh, obviously. But if you add more yellow, it'll get lighter and lighter. I suppose a lot depends which country you come from, how dark your skin is, I suppose. Not that it matters. And get dark skin in the UK, that's for sure. Not with our weather.
Rust, maybe.
The only reason I wanted a bit of flesh was to put a bit like I was saying about the I'm running out of edge on the paper on my board here. A bit like I was saying about painting buildings. It works the same with people. Yeah. Tendency is to paint their hands and their face, or just mark up where the flesh bits are first, because as soon as you start putting in loads of other colour, you tend to sort of lose it. I'm going to add think actually I'm going to stick with the theme. I'm stuck with this brush. It's stuck to my hand now, isn't it? I'm going to paint Verity. Oh, look, that was supposed to be yellow. And it's gone green. Anyway, we digress. It's not going to be green for long. But I'm just going to paint the top of her thing with yellow, which is that undercolor that I've been playing with all the time. Hopefully I can wash out the yellow. And I'm going to add a bit of red to it. Just drop it in while it's wet. See what happens. Bit too much water really, but hey ho. We'll let it squiggle its way down. Perhaps move it a bit. Face it there. I'm not actually looking at the colour image, I'm looking at the black and white one. So if the colours look a bit different, don't panic. It's because I'm not even looking at them. Oh no. But I've established more or less the colours involved by, oh, one thing you can do for a bit of fun, if you, on the figures, or paint the figure with clean water first. It's all good fun, isn't it? And then drop the paint in. You'll get that nice, I need new glasses, look to the image. And all the stuff will drizzle in neatly. And add it at the top. That'd be okay. She's got blue jeans on. I'm just going to put a little bit of the. There ain't no. There isn't any defining. This is how to do it. It's more of a question of just do it. Just have a go.
It'll probably be tonight or late afternoon. Yeah, all right. See you later. Bye.
See you later.
We get such a lot of interruptions, don't we? It's awful.
That's part of life, isn't it? It's part of living.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry about that. When you're sat here on your own doing nothing all day, that nobody rings up. But when you're doing something, everybody rings up.
Yeah, absolutely. I had it yesterday. I have one of those annoying calls that you get.
Oh yeah.
A number 011 blah blah blah, whatever it is. And normally I just sort of don't answer them and put a block on it. Must have caught me at a good moment yesterday because I thought, oh, I'll have a laugh here. So they I answered the call. Hello, David? Like they do, usually India or something. Hello, but he's trying to talk posh and it didn't come out. And if I do it, I always ends up being a Welsh accent. But just scrubbing those, trying to put some dark bits in to my horse. I think I'll lift his bum looks a bit doodah, but hey ho. Yeah, so I had a bit of fun. And he said, I said, I don't answer. I don't wait for them to speak. And I sort of said, like, who is it? Hello? Something like that, quick, but don't say any more. He who talks first loses. I said, hello. I think he said Mr. Harvey. It was sort of, Mr. Harvey, it's so, when I heard the word insurance. So that means it's one of those scam things, you've had an accident.
Oh.
Insurance claim. So I instantly went, oh, that was quick. Cool. I've only just got off the phone from the police. I've got the case number for the accident. Hang on a minute, I'll go and get it. So I just walk across the room just to write down some numbers, for a case number, police case number for the accident. And by the time I come back, the phone call was dead. It was gone. Yeah.
Oh,
Well, I was going to have a bit of fun, say like, you know, I've sent the accident. I'm only just, you know, the police said you'd ring
yeah.
and give me a case number to give you so that you can get in touch with them to get the, you know, confirmation of the details of the accident and that. I was going to have a right old laugh, and he went off. He chickened out. I'm not going to get Verity's head very good here because everything's too wet, and I want to. Well, hang on, let's just lift it off a bit. I'm just while it's damp. While it's damp, I'll add a few blobs of white. Somehow the flesh color that I used has gone dark, yellow. I don't know where this yellow keeps coming from. But one thing you can do with the figures, of course, lift it, if you want balance, lift it off from one part of the picture, just lift it off with your brush and dab it on the other. I have to go away from that now. Just having a look. Yeah, her hands are further down. Where are they? Oh, this is something we'll have to have a play around with. Let's get the hairdryer out in a minute. Dry this off before I attack the next bit. How am I looking? Bare bones. Bare bones. That's what I'm looking. But anyway, while I'm in the mood, I'll add some dark bits here and there. Well, I've got it in the palette at the top up here. I'm just gonna dab in a few darks. Same goes with her jacket there, I think. I'll just wrap in a bit. It's got one of those, and there's a few dark bits there. I'm not worried about her face because that'll come back when it dries off. Can add a few dark shadowy bits in there. But this is the bit that I normally do at the end of the picture, add in some darks just to add a bit more information and detail to the image. But I'm going to have to dry this because I want to, well, add some masking fluid, or I was going to, but I think I might take a gamble and just use a couple bits of strategically placed tissue for now. Otherwise, I'm going to run out of time. I'll be here till about 3 o'clock, I think. Well, but that's all very well. But by then you won't hear me. You'd hear my stomach rumbling. I'm just putting in a few darks just for a sec. Actually, what's the word? I'm stalling, aren't I? Because what I'm doing is I'm painting other parts of the picture while the others dry off. Clever. Once you've got a rigger in your hand, that's it as well. You end up doing nothing else. You're actually drawing with the rigger. What I need to do is decide where I want that harness to go. I'm going to put it in there, and the other one goes the other side anyway. Apart from that, Verity's holding them. It's got. Funny thing is, while it's bare bones like this, Joyce was talking to me yesterday, or she emailed me about something, and can we start thinking about a winter scene for Christmas?
Oh gosh.
because she's starting to make some Christmas cards for her, just for Christmas. And I thought, that's a brilliant idea. But just looking at this as it is at the moment, it's with the Verity's red jacket and one thing and another, it's starting to get a Christmas theme to it.
Mm.
I can almost sense Christmas coming.
It'll soon be here. The time's going so
Well, I
quick.
think,
Yeah.
that's right. And I mean, to convert this into a Christmas scene, absolutely easy. Could do it, you know. I mean, this is it. We're almost, you know, I don't need to, so I think our Christmas painting this year will be a reprise of this one, but do it in the winter scene, which we can do easy. I'll put a few extra details in on the horse for a minute. And I have to just stuck my hand in something wet. But he's got a character. But like I was saying just now, what's going to happen is everyone's horse is going to be a really
Different, yeah.
a really great gallery next week. Or next
Might be a funny one.
because everyone's everyone's horse is going to have a total different character. Right, I'm going to dry this off quickly with the hairdryer. Where are you? Come here. Doesn't look like a lot of work, really, considering how long I've spent, but
No, it's looking good though.
it doesn't feel like I've it just doesn't feel like I've done, even though I haven't stopped, I've done a lot of painting. It just doesn't feel like I've done much, or it doesn't look like I've done as much as I normally would. Anyway, what I'm going to do, while I remember, this is a rigger, but only because I've got it to hand. Again, this theme of underpainting is coming through on this now. What colour is the wheel? So well, it's going to have an orange mudguard on it now. I haven't got red on my palette. I'm just using this rose madder. Try and leave the top of, or at least one edge with a little fraction of white on it. And just painting the red over the top. And if you've got ordinary cadmium red, that's fine. It will go a nice orangey colour, which is really what I was trying to get there. A bit more contrast. And the wheel, I've just put a little bit on, and it's got green in it, my dark. So I'm just going to drizzle that in on top. It'll fade back quite nicely.
Right, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go now. I've got to help sort Peter out. Okay.
All right, Carol.
All right, Carol.
All right. See you next
Bye.
week. Okay then. Bye. Bye. Bye, Richard.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
We'll see you on the video. Well,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay then. Bye.
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 bless her. She works really hard, doesn't she? Looking after Peter.
Yeah, it's hard work, isn't it?
Well, my wife Melanie, her mum's been in a sort of vegetative state for must be a couple of years now.
Right.
Absolutely, it's awful. It's a bit like I don't even go. I'm too well. I don't know what to say for right or wrong really, but I don't go in to see her when I go there now because it's it's a bit like she's
She's
dead.
not, she doesn't know who you
She's
are.
dead. She's not there.
Yeah.
Well, is that the only reason she's alive? And Melanie tells me this is that is her dad keeps her alive. If she was in a care home, she'd been gone years ago, ages ago.
Yeah.
He feeds her, cleans her, does it. The bloke is a saint. He's just so in love with her that he won't leave her. He won't let her go. But then again, the pain and the difficulty of it all is the fact that you don't get any response. All she does is sleep. You have to feed her.
Yeah.
She sits all day, but there'll be one day or 1 second in a month, in 2 months, where she'll, instead of staring at you or staring into nowhere, she will smile.
Oh, right.
So, I mean,
Strange, isn't that?
what a predicament. Right, we're going into have some fun now.
Ooh.
I'm going to make this dry, so much as possible. Okay, well, I've worked hard here. The next thing I'm going to do, I've got an old brush here. I was going to love this. She's not here, so I can get away with it now. I've got an old brush with some soap.
Oh.
So I'm just going to rub the soap, just an old piece of soap that I nicked out the bathroom. I'm going to brush the soap in the brush. Now I'm going to get the soap off my hand because it's everywhere. And get a clean tissue. My horse doesn't look too bad now, actually.
Good.
And the next thing I'm going to do. No, I've got a new one. Use the new. There we go. I'm going to use some masking fluid.
Oh.
Hence the reason Carol always says she can't get on with masking fluid. But there's a reason for it. I think, yeah, there is a reason for this. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing or not. I've thought hard and laboured, and am I doing the right thing? Should I be doing this? Or should I? Is it going to make life really difficult later? Probably. But then again, like I always say, I make the mistakes so that you don't need to. Oh dear, it's so funny. Well, it is true. I tend to do that. I'm using a lot. I've started, so I'm just going to keep bloody going. It won't take long. I'm just going to mark out the whole flipping horse. Well, I hope I am. Otherwise, there's going to be bits of it. Look at him. The only reason I'm doing it is so that I can have fun with it.
Put a wash on then.
Yeah, I can do other stuff.
Right.
I'm not worried about the post. I didn't really want to put any on there, but I did. God almighty, I'm such a twerp. I think it's, like I said earlier though, I do have a plan, an inkling of a plan in my mind before I start these pictures, but it's pretty inflexible. Once you've done, the beauty of doing, the reason for the soap, is now you've got the soap on it, you can just wash your brush out in clean water and it washes all the masking fluid off. He laughs. It does. Now, you wouldn't do it on your best brush, obviously, but
No.
it retains. No, there's none in there now. That brush is.
Right.
It's. I've used it for so long. It's quite lumpy. Yeah. Right. Now, the only reason I did that is so that I can have a laugh, have a bit of fun there. I don't know. Scared? Yeah. Be afraid. Very afraid. Because here comes my box of tricks.
So gadgets.
This is just a box, and these are pastels that you get. People give them to me as presents or whatever, and I don't use pastels. Well, I do sometimes, but what I tend to do now, I'm going to try on this attempt. These are makeup pads, powder puffs, like you use, and the colours, they're just colours that came out of the box of pastels. But I wanted yellows. I want some yellows. There's green. There's a blue over here. So my plan now, I've got two different yellows. This one's rubbish. I can't use it. It's crumbled all to pieces. But I think I might smash it up with something at some point. But I'm going to make a bit of space for my chair. I'll have to move it up a bit. Well, I can do it flat. It'll be all right. So I'm just going to pop the colours on the chair so that I can sit on them. Spoil it. Hence, now with the craft knife, yeah, I'm just going to pink foliage.
I don't have any pastels.
In that case, I'll show you. There's a plan B.
Right.
Plan B is fan brush.
Ah, right.
You do this exactly the same. Well, you can't do it exactly the same, but
Similar.
you can do it. Well, I'll show you before we go. Just remind me. Hence the reason I put the masking fluid, because I don't want it to go on the horse.
Right. Yeah.
I'm using yellow, but I'm not sure if it's the right.
So if I was using a fan brush, I wouldn't have to block out the horse.
No.
Do I?
No, that's right.
That's one less job then.
I've got green here. Most of it is green. I've done this. I just thought you'd like to see how.
Yeah.
I'm just using the edge of the brush, but
Start
you
to
can
see it now.
do it from. Yeah, I'll lift it up to the camera a bit in a minute. You can lift it. If you lift it, the further away it is, obviously the variation is the dust will fall in a different place.
Yeah, yeah.
If you do it really close, it'll just go where you want it, specific. But if you lift it up high, it'll go all over your clothes. Everywhere. Well, that's one green. I've got a dark green here as well. So it's almost blue, this green. Great. I'm not just, it looks random, but I am conscious of where I'm putting it. Remember right at the start, I started painting those light lines. Because in a minute, the next process of this, it's just going to go whoosh. So I'm going to put it where I think green. I've got greens over here. Might lose control of it. A minute. This is the bottom I'm working on now, or the lower part. Just say, oh, you can't say that I'm not game. I don't, you know. Think leaves, think foliage, and where you've got, you just sort of glance at your picture and you can say, well, there's a lot of green there. But the focus is the horse and Verity, really, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It's good. It's good.
Wow, it looks interesting at the moment. Good. Oh, I don't know about good. I think they're bluebells, aren't they, down here?
Yeah,
They look like sort of bluebells. I've speckled some in, didn't I, with the what's it brush? Got blue. So we'll go through the colours in a minute that I'm using, but there is no right and wrong. Art is supposed to be fun. If it ain't fun, I ain't doing it. But it's fun with a purpose, isn't it? It's fun with, I'm not just doing it.
And then product.
Yeah, but I'm doing it, even though it looks like I'm just doing it random, I'm not. Because I'm using darker colours in that area. The scary bit is sort of now, because what I'll do, if I zoom out, now you need one of these.
Oh, water spray.
This is, yeah, just an atomizer. So the next plan is just to spray the flipping thing. Let's get rid of that nice picture I've got here. It's just use our just gonna spray it. And just try and all I'm doing is fusing the colour. Talk about brave. If this doesn't work, that's the whole morning's work going out the window, isn't it? But usually that sprayer wasn't as good as this one. So even the sprayer that you use affects it.
Yeah, you can see it now.
That sprayer was full. This one's sort of half full,
Right.
so it's not. It's coming out more.
Right.
Stronger, I think. So it's coming out. Yeah. Now we can sort of get a feel for what's going on. The more water you put on, and the closer you put it on, the more you'll affect it. So it's not just trial and error. You've got to practice, or be conscious of what's possible and what's not possible. And one thing, and it just fuses well. But you can see why I put the thin lines in the background.
Yeah.
It sort of acts as foliage, or it establishes where the darks are. Now, what we can do is, be careful, don't sit on that. Just about to sit on it. What we can do while it's damp, well, not while it's damp, you can do it afterwards as well, is use clean water on your brush. Is just, you can manipulate it. So you can add, remember I put those leaves on there, didn't I? So I can incorporate it into there a bit. And you can add colour. So I've got this stump here, my tree. How long is a piece of string? Now you become, now you've got to be an artist. Because you've got to start looking for areas. Have you got any pastel pencils?
No, I've got watercolour pencils.
Because you can do this with them as well. You just cut, just make a long, you know, make a long,
The watercolour pencils.
yeah, you can use it, you can do it with them.
Right, right.
I've used a really big image, but it's quite a large picture. And now we can just use our brush. It's a cross, it's a bit, it's a crafty way of doing it. I mean, I'm adding,
Very effective, isn't it?
I'm adding some darks in, because at the bottom of the, I'm not, well, I'm not going to sit and paint a whole flipping forest for hours on end. It's madness. But for what gain? Because I'm still having to put in all the loads of details. So at this point, at this stage now, the painting is mine. Everything that's happening to it is to do with me. Even though it's, well, later on when it's going to dry and I rub the horse back. The other thing I was considering doing and I forgot was to get a toothpick. What do you call those things? Wooden pick?
Yeah.
Skewer sausage thingy. People that eat meat put sausages on sticks, don't they?
Yeah,
Those things.
yeah.
Cocktail sticks.
Cocktail sticks.
And then use the cocktails.
Just draw fine lines.
Yeah. If you just use the cocktail stick, you can draw extra foliage, but that's not the end of it either. What you can do, just looking at what I'm going to do, I've got my toothbrush here. Am I off for time, Pauline?
It's about 20 past.
Right. One thing I'm going to do with my toothbrush, I think I'm going to keep going for a little while, so don't rush. With my toothbrush, I'm going to spatter some bits for the foreground. If I can get
do
enough.
that foliage, couldn't I?
Yeah, well, you can try. Well, worth a try. And I'm going to just put a few blobs with this. Equally, you can use the wherever he's gone. Luckily, I've got two fan brushes because the other one's disappeared. And add some interest with a fan brush. Hey, big spinner.
David?
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, I have to go.
Okay. Are you enjoyed yourself?
Okay.
Yes. It was a very
I'll send you the video
interesting lesson.
I'll send you the video anyway, so I'll keep going for a few more minutes, and then I'll send you the video complete.
Okay, thank you.
And it will look totally different then.
Bye, Bridget. Bye, Bridget.
Bye. See you.
Thank
See
you.
you next week.
Yes. Bye.
Bye. Bye. And there was
It
one.
looks-
There was one.
It looks a bit rogue because everything's really wet at the moment, but
Yeah. Yeah.
what you can do, like I just did a bit of spattering, but when it's dry, what we do is like I've done on here.
Right.
Now,
Right.
I can put some highlights in with the white
Yeah. Yeah.
and some more darks in as well because it's dry,
Yeah,
it's all wet
yeah.
at the moment.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's the fun bit to come.
Mm.
Now
Yeah,
getting
looks
back,
really good.
well, when it's dry, it'll be something else.
Better.
What
better.
we'll do is we'll end in a minute, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then I'll dry it. I'll save this video, and then later on I'll
Do another.
do more to it, and I'll add that on
Right.
to the video that we've got now.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That'd be good.
And I'll also do a little bit of alternative without the pastels.
Right. Right.
I don't want to blow it with the hairdryer. I just want it to,
No. Bit around then. Won't you?
yeah.
Mm.
Well, it's pretty it's pretty solid. I can,
Is it? Or is it?
oh yeah, I can. It's fusing it on,
Right.
and it's gradually.
Right.
I just want it to dry off a little bit.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You got an echo?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Have I? Have I? Yes.
Am I?
Yeah, because you got your speakers on.
All right.
Don't worry about it.
No.
Yeah.
no,
So what I do?
Sounds a bit complicated.
It's really funny. Hang on a minute.
You've gone off now. Oh, there you are. I can't hear you.
Yes, you can.
Oh, I can now. Yeah, that was really good. Thank you.
Well, it's part one. I'll do it.
Yeah,
There'll be some more going on later on.
yeah,
Because I knew it would run a bit because it's such a long subject.
yeah.
Hopefully Bridget's enjoyed it.
Enjoyed it. Yeah. No, good. Will the others be back next week?
Yeah,
Yeah.
possibly
Well,
2-3 weeks.
All right. All right. Well, I'll see you next week.
Amazing. I'll send you the video.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks very much, Dave. That was good.
Both of you. When you play the video back, you'll see what I'm on about.
Oh right. Okay. I've got a bit of golden problem. Am I too close? Is it better now?
No, it's picking up an echo from something else.
Oh right.
So either you've got two devices on or speakers.
Got my phone's quite close. Would that affect it?
Don't know. Weird.
Yeah.
Funny.
I'll go.
Oh.
See you next week.
Cheers, mate. You're down a well.
Bye.
Bye.
Right. So here we are. That was a long morning session, wasn't it? So next stage, I'm going to try and rub off any oh dear, masking fluid that I got put on there. Trying to be careful not to spoil anything else. And leave my fingers intact if possible. Underneath there, where's my rubber? Rubber. Yeah. The rubber seems to get it off quite nicely and saves the edge. Your fingers can get a bit accurate as well. Ooh. I guess I should have done this before I started the video. Bits flying off everywhere. It's coming off. It's going to involve a little bit of tidying up in a minute, but it's fine. Good fun experimenting. Let's just blow that into the bin. You can see where I'm going. Let's reveal Verity. We don't upset the church admin, do we? Or do we? Must have put was blue masking fluid, so you're supposed to be able to see where it is, but must admit it's not as easy as I thought. Have to do it by feel. Good old fingers, they're the boys, aren't they? Can feel it where the it's going to take a while. Some there. Let's get there. Whoa, definitely some there. Smudged it a bit there, but it's okay. Maybe the masking fluid wasn't such a good idea. I did say at the beginning I'll use a bit of tissue, which I didn't do. Be all right in a minute. We'll clean it up. Can just feel it with my fingers where it is. Oops, there's a big piece. And that's all masking fluid down there. That little grey area. Feels good. And by his head. Sun's come out here in sunny Christchurch. Yeah, we can see the shadows going across the image. A bit more off. Oh, we've got a nice background image to do some work on there anyway. You still feel very often it's the type of paper makes it harder or easier to get the masking fluid off. Do that without. I think most of there's a little bit there. Just got to sort of go around with your fingers and you can just feel it. This isn't cold press, it's hot press paper, which is dead smooth. Which I'm not sure if it's a plus or a minus doing this. Yeah, it's okay. Yep. Well, at least we've got a semblance of a painting to play with. Let's get got a dry brush. Yeah, that one's fairly dry. Lightly smooth out any bits that I've smudged. Raw sienna comes to my mind at the moment, just to heighten and brighten stuff up. Yeah, that's okay. Don't know why I'm thinking raw sienna. Well, I've got the palette where it is. Change my water to a cleaner bucket. 2 buckets. The one we were using this morning is slightly yuck, and the other one's much cleaner. So what we're going to, sticking with the theme of, some white in that tray, because that was burnt sienna that I just put in there, and it seemed to go milky, which, because I remember earlier I had a sort of flesh tone in there. See if I can get a nice fresh raw sienna. Well, I had a bit of red to it anyway. That's rose madder, just to brighten it up a bit. And what I'm going to do is really put a nice wash of burnt sienna on my little horse, big horse. I know you right-handed people think us lefties are a bit strange. Not worried I can go over the darks. Just wanted to re-establish the horse. I think the front needs to be a little bit lighter. Because it's coming a bit towards us. It'll dry back anyway, so that's a good thing. Let's add a few niceties. It's got a part in just about there. Lovely tony underbelly, So I've added a little bit of red to the colour. I'm going to have to be careful here with this leg because it's smudged, doesn't it? So, but there is only a tiny gap there. Oh, I see. Yeah. That's fine. It's coming towards us. Got to find some muscles on his leg. Just sort of there. And this is much smaller. To accentuate some of these shadows. Do a bit of this and let it dry. Try and smooth out the yellow elements. But be careful. Remember what I said earlier about mud. So I'm sticking with the stronger variants of the colour that I put on originally, which was yellow and burnt sienna. So tendency to get mud should be reduced. Oops, get back. Just need to warm him up, trying to get the horse to. Tell you what, doing those portraits definitely helps you think and look for shadows and darker elements. I'm not worried about his front foot. I'm going to introduce some more colour to that. I'm going to use a fan brush around here in a minute. Now I'm conscious that this needs to be, more greens going in there, so that's fine. We're going to introduce some more green there later, and that's okay. Find a fan brush, just stipple a few bits in just to. Not much coming off there, isn't it? Needs to be more of a burnt umbery colour. Fortunately, I've got some darks floating around that I can utilise. A bit watery, muddy even. Mud? Who mentions mud? We don't need mud. Raw sienna is what I need at some point. Stand up in a minute and have a look, see what I'm doing. I haven't got a clue at the moment. Bottom of the foliage, I'm just going to, it's just damp water, so it will rehydrate the pastel that we sprayed on there earlier. So we can add some dark shadow areas. Just push it very gently. These are a shame, really. That green that I'm using, it's not as intense green as we'd like. But this is just a fan brush. It's slightly damp with a bit of yucky colour paint from in here. Sorry about the reflections. Probably can't see. I'll stop the video for a little while and come back later because it's really You won't be able to see anything like this, but it'll come back in a little while. Start the movie. I screwed up the, well, something happened with the sound on the movie, the video of this as I was making it. What I'm just going to go talk round over what I've done. I've introduced some ultramarine with the burnt umber because the dark areas in the image, I just wanted to make them just make them stand out, whatever you like, you know, just give them more emphasis on them. So I've mixed up some burnt umber and blue. You might see in a minute I'll add a little bit of that green into it as well, because like I said before, the trees aren't black, they're not brown, they're green, basically, very dark green. So as per usual, I'm working on the top, nobody can see it, but as it comes down, you can see I'm trying to leave a few spaces in where the foliage at the foreground is, so we can sort of lift it out a bit. I don't know what's happened with the image. It's not as sharp as it was, but you can get a feel for what I'm doing here. And I'm gradually just lifting more and more color, or just using the rigger as usual. Once you get that thing attached to your hand, it's difficult to let it go, I know. It sort of sticks there. Yeah, so it's going to just a slow doodle with the rigger and darks. You know, this is the time that doing this with, you know, adding the darks and things, it brings the picture to life. So you're constantly looking for areas to bring slightly forward, because dark brings forward, light recedes. Quite a thick branch, isn't it? And these distant ones. But as you use the rigger, some of the paint, obviously you use it up and it tones in, it lightens it up. That's the time to keep going, because you can utilize the rigger with lighter colors on it, you know, lighter amount of paint on it, and get the sort of distance that you want, because not all the twigs are going to be really black and dark. So this is just a tweaking, bring in the foliage, the branches, and some twigs. You'll see it on the very final one, but I know when I was doing this morning, I was saying that it's as long as you want it to be. There are millions of twigs and very fine branches within the tree, so you can spend days teasing in more and more twigs and branches. The overall effect using the pastel to dust, it's quite interesting. It's unusual. Not everyone does it. So I've gone off the edge of the board again, off the edge of the video. Once you get the rigger involved and trying to look for darks and areas within the scene, to just adds depth, doesn't it? That's the thing. You can see once you get the rigger going and you get nice fine lines, you just got to keep going. because the balance between the amount of paint on the brush is giving you just the right fineness of line and tone of color. That stump's going to get some treatment now, look. I think I've decided to add some green in a minute, because now I've gone on the horse harness, just looking at actually I was looking at the black and white image most of the time, because that's got the luminosity, there's variations of tone and shade. But it's a shame, I don't know, I think it's because I had a light on, thinking that it'll make the image or the video look brighter, that it's almost done the opposite, made it lighter. But you can see gradually doodling away with this dark color. So it's just burnt umber, ultramarine. The cobalt blue was giving it, as I said in the first part, on Tuesday, it was giving it too much of a grey tone. You can almost sense it, whereas you can always see it or feel it in amongst the horses. Head, the halter, is it? I don't know what they call that. The thing that stops it running off, anyway. Not the reins. I spent quite a bit of time, well, a little bit of time doodling with Verity, and I still not finished with her face yet. I want it to be a little bit show up a little bit more, put a little bit more detail in, just a hint of her eyes and her mouth. But I ended up painting it quite, using a bit of white on her face, and the flesh tone, which is where the mouse is there, that's flesh, that's sand, and that's peach that I buy straight out the tube from St. Petersburg Paints colours. They're pastel shades. I'm mixing up some more of the green colour using yellow and that Viridian green, or whatever green it is. It's definitely a serious bit of green. And I'm saying here, the yellow and takes the edge off it. You can actually use a bit of the blue as well. Now I've gone off screen, but what I'm doing is using the fan brush just to push more foliage in, just tease it in. I'm not just dipping it up and down, I'm giving it a little gentle push at the same time. I think I'll get a piece of paper now and sort of intimate that what I'm saying, what I do. I've got a good memory here. If you just go like this, that straight line, then you'll get straight lines, which some trees you probably would need that, but I'm actually giving it a little gentle push at the same time, which is what I was trying to show there. I'm looking at the little bit of the color image and saying, yeah, right, we need more green here, more foliage here. You'll see it a bit better as I come down a bit. I've gone up. It's the trouble when I was painting, I forget to look at the screen to see what's actually happening. And then it's always the trouble with a portrait. When you're painting portrait, you need a different angle on the camera. Maybe I'll turn it round next time. I'll have a think about it. We'll move it down. Good fun though. But now, using this fan brush, I'm gently teasing in lots and lots of greens and equally trying to get some variations of green as well. So just by adding a little bit of either more yellow, more green, a hint of blue, you can get lots of different variations of tones and shades of green. But that, bear in mind, we got, or I got, plenty of different variations using the pastels, just to sort of lay in a different variety of greens and blue, and that earthy browny color that I used. And even now the brush is not soaking wet with water, obviously it's just damp, but that does reactivate the pastel dust a little bit, makes it spread quite nicely. But you can see what's happening. I'm gradually looking for patches of foliage and just adding them in. I mean, I'm conscious of not going too far with it, because well, I'm trying to demonstrate and inspire you to have a go yourself. But I mean, this type of picture you could spend weeks doing and getting it just so bit at a time, gradually building up loads of foliage and color and balances. One thing you've that I'm trying to achieve as well is to make the horse, because he's the focus of the whole thing, leading back into Verity, holding the reins. But you can see, hopefully you can judge just by using the fan brush, gradually filling in some of the gaps that the pastel didn't fill up. This goes on for quite a while in this video. Invariably it keeps going. I'll keep doing it until I get a bit bored, and then I think, oh, it's good, try some other part of the painting. There's a bit of the cobalt blue there. As I say, I'm trying to find different variations of the green. Constantly, you can see the side of my board though is gradually becoming quite a nice little color palette of its own. And being watercolors, of course, if I damp my brush and just squish it on the side there, then I can pick up some color. And it's really handy, as I said over before, that you can, lost my thread now, somebody shouted upstairs at me, but you can, oh well, it'll come back to me. I think I've got visitors. I'll pause the video for a minute. 4 times I've attempted to do an added video. Oh, once you make a mistake, it can take quite a bit. Anyway, all I'm doing here is I've mixed up some more yellow and that green, trying to just dust in a few more interesting green foliage bits using the fan brush. Equally, if you've got one, a nice coral sponge you can use. I've tried that, but it's not a proper sponge, so it tends not to, well, I didn't think it was as good, but you can be. With, of course, you can use the sponge to do the foliage right from the get-go, rather than any pastels that I did on mine, but that was just to show that there are show alternatives that are there. So it's just a question now of pushing it in with the well, I'm using the fan brush. I like using that. I was going to say it's like watching paint dry, but it's more interesting. Paint develop, but it's more of a term. So this will go on for, I did this for quite a little while, but equally trying to, I'm using my right hand here as a left-handed person. Sometimes it's a good idea because you sort of get a variation of randomness. If you do it the same way as you always do it, you always end up with the same results. So switching hands over can sometimes give you a random nature feel to it. Oh, keep going there. Now I've got hold of some, using a bit of dark areas as well, just tweaking it in. That burnt umber and blue that I use a lot, well, it's the only dark color that I use. Add some green in it as well to give it that sort of really dark shadow foliagey color. Just trying to add some really, I'm looking at the black and white reference image and just trying to find some shadow areas. I think I'm going to hit the big brush with some water here and just spread and soften down a little bit of shadow under the horse. That's good. This is what it's all about now at this stage, is really just picking out lights and darks, tonal values. Hence the reason looking at the black and white photo is the best way to do it, because you only see the luminosity of the grey tones and the light tones and the mid tones. So regardless of colour, you can sort of look for your highlights and your shadows and your midtones and start putting them in. That's what I'm trying to achieve here. A couple of bits. It's funny actually looking at the video of you painting, because you start noticing pieces of within the work and you think, no, do that, put some there. That part there between the legs, for example, definitely needs disguising or incorporating into the picture. Of course, the other thing is, the more you look at certain bits and you discover something that doesn't feel right, it takes ages to fix it. Quite brave there, using a larger brush. So more often than not, use a rigger on those sort of things. I think in a minute I will. I can almost sense myself thinking, nah, too big, that brush, I need a rigger. Where's that rigger? Where is it? Oh my, I've got a whole load of them there. Now I'm going back to the stippler, fan stippler brush. These brushes I buy from Terry Harrison, British artist. If Bridget wants to look him up, I'll send you a link. We use I use a lot of his brushes, love them. What I'm trying to do there is stroke the brush down towards the front to give the feeling of movement, like the track is coming from somewhere. It's not just stationary. I'm just very lightly pushing or dragging really little bits of color towards the front. Obviously needed a bit more burnt umber there to get it darker. Gradually developing. The horse is going to be something I'm going to work on in a minute. I can sense it straight away. The back of the horse is much too red. Needs toning down. Here we go. Back to the green, added some more foliage, gradually building it all up. And Verity, having a go at Verity, trying to make her stand out a bit. I've just adding some white now. It's the only tool I've got really to make things stand out. So it was obviously, I remember remarking on Tuesday at the outset how dark her face was and needs to be lightening up. So here I'm just using a bit of white and now mix up, find a nice bit of lighter flesh tone and just add that on top of the white. But being white and wet, it didn't take very well. So I had to work on that for a bit. I'm just mixing up a bit of sort of fleshy tone. One thing later on I remembered that Verity's got sort of a yellow, straw, gingery hair tone, so that has to come into play at some stage later. But as you can see, once I get that rigor on my hand with highlights like white on it, it almost becomes attached part of my hand, and this will go on for quite a while now. Just tightening it. It's really just tightening up and making, or trying to develop the picture and bring certain areas forward and back. Remember, dark brings things forward, lighter forces them back. And just trying to emphasize certain areas of color. The horse's fur as well. What do they call it? Hair? I don't know. The horse needs tightening up. I use a little bit of that flesh tone on the horse and then added white on the top of it, just to emphasize contrast between very bright and dull. It does have a sort of fleshy white, well, a fleshy browny tone within its features, the horse. Quite enjoyed doing it. I'm not sure about its collar on this horse. I think I might have to have a serious look at how that goes on the photograph, just trying to emphasize a few bits. You see I'm putting a fleshy color on his mane. Kind of warms it up a bit as well, even though I've got the white tube of white in my hand, and I can assure you that's going to get used to put hair highlights. Now that I said earlier I was going to attack, that sounds a bit harsh, soften down the horse. Again, I'm using that flesh tone, just blending it in, soften the horse down, and looking at the black and white images to find out, just to spot any highlights on the horse. Goes on for a while, this. Does made a big difference to the horse actually. I'm quite pleased with him now. Her, I'm assuming it's a pony, horse, just a horse to me. I'm ignorant when it comes to things like that. It's got 4 legs, goes neigh, it's a horse. That'll do. But as you can see, softening it down definitely sends it back a bit and makes it much nicer, I think. Looking for highlights on there as well, some reflection. Has it on his nose, bridge of his head. Just picking them out using the black and white reference image. Be interesting to see what everyone else does, because like I said yesterday, the character of the horse will be totally different for everyone. We'll all see it different, just like when we're doing the portraits. And various technical skills and confidence, it all comes into it, doesn't it? And patience and time, and the phone goes, and somebody knocks on the door downstairs, and the grandchildren turn up. Oh, great fun. I'll just go forward a little bit. Oops, no, that keeps popping up, doesn't it? Ooh, go away. It's because I'm at full screen. Oh, there you go. You see it softened the horse down quite a lot. Just a little bit of white, looking for some stronger highlights. Obviously this can go on as a work in progress for quite some time. These back legs were, to me, they're a bit of a awkward one. Trying to get them to stand out as legs against the background. Add in some fur hair, or making the strong there, and add a bit of darks to it as well. That's that patch in between the horses, in between the legs there. I'm trying to blend it in with the rest of the lane, the path, whatever we call it, the forest track, yeah, that too. Once you get that rigor and some dark paint involved, it goes on for quite a while. Trying to put some shadow where the feet are so that they stand out a little bit more. One of the things I was doing at one point was putting lines straight, painting the trig, the twigs and leaves, the sort of branches all over the floor and down the sides. One of the ways I was doing it was using in white, just painting a white line, and then once it's dried off a bit, painting over that white line with dark brown, and it tends to look like a stick or bits of branches. It worked quite well. That I was quite pleased with that. Oh, whoops, went a bit smaller. Let's go back. Don't know what I've done there. Lost my video. I'll give up. See if I can get back to where I was. Maybe a bit further up. Hit the play button. Just trying to force it along with. I think I've got more or less back to where I was. A little bit of white. Just trying to add some highlights. Back comes the rigger. It's a toss-up, then it keeps switching between the rigger and the slowly building it up. Just trying to bring those feet out a bit. Verity. As I say, I need to spend quite a bit of time trying to tweak Verity out, trying to tease out a bit of information. Make her a little bit stronger. Add some darks. Once I get hold of the rigger, we can just intimidate between the highlights of the white and the darks. And the other thing, of course, is as parts of the picture dry, then I'll go back over it again because it fades back or looks a bit weak. But it's slowly coming to life. Back onto Verity. Need to brighten her up. Add a little bit of. She'll never forgive me otherwise. Move on a bit. Deciding we needed a bit more shadow in the back of the track forest. Just trying to smooth it out. I think that's nearly all clean water on there. Just softening what's there down to encourage it to look a bit more interesting. This area here that I'm brushing is annoying. I'm going to have to probably tighten that up, have a go over that a couple of times just to really disguise the fact that I smoothed it when I used my finger getting the masking fluid off. It sort of affected it a bit. But that's okay. We can add some darks to gradually bring it back out. I've almost done it there. Well done. I'm really chuffed with that. It looks nice. What are we up to here, Dave? Still looking out for darks, I think. Yeah. Just adding some more detail on these twigs. I said earlier that I rubbed it with a tissue, the path, trying to smooth it out, give it some sort of definition. Now I'm going over those white twigs that I painted with brown with a darker colour just to make them look like sticks. Kind of worked. Worth a try. Anyway, I've booked a Zoom, or I've scheduled a Zoom meeting for Friday morning, so anybody wants to pop in about 10:30 for half an hour or so, we can. just going over the twiggy bits with some brown, well, burnt umber and blue, trying to make the foreground look a bit more interesting. And here comes, I think this is yeah, now I'm going to use the knife. It's a craft knife. If you've got a scalpel with a blade on it, you can scratch away at the highlights where you want highlights. I'm probably going to I'm conscious of having a scratch at the track, the path, try and rub out some paper, get back to plain white. It goes on for quite a while. This does take a while to do as well. Quite enjoyable. It's very reminiscent of George. He used to scratch out all day long, but it did work. It does work. Bless him. It just adds a bit of sparkle. It's a bit like what we do, the same thing on seascapes as well, just to add a little bit of top of the waves. But this paper I'm using is a hot press paper, which is flat, and it's not very thick, it's quite thin, so it doesn't really lend itself to scratching out very well. You need a really sharp knife to, it just doesn't do it, as well as not finished paper or cold pressed. But you can see it makes quite a difference to the overall image. Whoops, too dark. I can hear myself saying it now. Oh, I didn't like that. I'm using the brush to try and lift it all off again there. Whoosh, almost did it. It's annoying me, that little patch between the horse walking stride. Persevere. Now I've gone and just going over those leaves, or the branch that's coming out from the side, just using a bit of bright lemony yellow green that I've been using just to try and tweak out a little bit more of them. In a minute I'll use the rigger just to simulate, well, putting a branch going across so that you know that they're hanging on to, just using a bit of dark. Could practice with the rigger this. Where do you want it? Get a line. A bit like a golf swing that was. Practice. Go over. Woohoo. I think I actually put two in. I'll put, might be a bit dark actually looking at the final result. So I'll probably either scratch a little bit out, try and put some highlights back in on that branch, and maybe extend it a little bit further over so that it's really coming out. Maybe put a knot on, a little knotty bit on as well. Not far off as far as I'm going. Verity, I need to put a little bit of goldenness in her hair. Bit of orange might be, no, I don't think so. Bit of a yellow, golden yellow. That's what's needed in her hair. I think I tried to do that in a minute, and then I get totally wrong. Put the yellow in the wrong part of the palette. You watch this. I'm pretty sure it happens. What I want is a fleshy yellowy color, a yellowy flesh. Stand it back. Oh no, I've gone past it. Anyway, once you put a mount around it, it looks fairly acceptable. And it also gives you a chance to have a little think and emphasize or bring things out. My thing, look, I'm doing now. I'm obviously, I think this is the moment where I go, oh, I need a bit of a yellow in that just to brighten it up. Golden yellow for her hair. And cadmium lemon yellow is serious. No, whoosh, oh my goodness me. That's not what I was looking for. Oh dear. And then I put it in the peach. Oh, you watch, I'll put yellow in there in a minute. Oh, why did I do that? What was I thinking about? Crazy. I have to get a tissue in there to wipe that out. So that stuff's so fierce. It's not going anywhere. Oh, come on, Dave. Get your act together. Anyway, we're almost at the end of this now. So that's the state of play at the moment. As I say, I've booked a schedule a Zoom spot for Friday, so I'll send you it in the link. And anyone wants to pop in for a chat, cup of tea, I'll be there. Love it. It's very good. I quite like this picture. I've enjoyed it, even though it's been a lot long-winded, and I mucked up the sound on the video from this morning where I was trying to tweak it a bit, you know, carry on a bit from yesterday. So I've had to do the video, take the sound off it, and play the video in Zoom again and talk over it. See you soon.